Welcome to this Sahara 4 exercise. In this exercise, we will start working with the decline window. The declines window is one of the most relevant windows that we have available in Sahara, which function is to predict the production of the wells in our project using forecasts. It has two different modes available. One will allow you to record the flow forecast in different scenarios, or you can also as well use the other mode to save type wells with different categories or curves. Um, Here for this first exercise we will set up first our decline units and the scenarios that we will use for the forecast, and then we will do a quick exercise using just the forecast option. In a future exercise we will use the type well option as well. First we will open our Sahara project here, and now we will go to first we will modify the units and go to edit units, and we will look for the decline units. Here we have plenty of different units that we can use. Here we will select the first one that is already selected here by default, the annual effective in percentage, and we will add a 0 here and save. So now we have the correct units here. Remember always to check this before doing any work with declines or forecasts, because it might be relevant for your calculations to have to use either one or the other. Maybe you want to use monthly or to use nominal instead of effective. So have that in consideration before starting with your forecast scenarios work in the decline window. So now we will create our forecast scenarios. We will go here. We have already a forecast scenario created by default. Um, Here we can see that we have the reference, the type of the scenario, and it's divided in primary and secondary. Here we will create two extra forecasts here. This one is going to be called optimistic, and we will call it just the description. We can use the same. Let's use this as a reference. We see that we have to define it as forecast scenario because we have other types of scenarios here. We will focus on forecast, and we can select which is going to be the subphase. Here, as we decided to do different scenarios for the optimistic, pessimistic, and base or forecast scenario, we will just define it as primary or secondary. But you have available, if you want, you can just create a single forecast scenario and divide the subphases in low, base, and high, which is basically the same concept. Instead of creating three scenarios, pessimistic, optimistic, and forecast, you can do it just creating a single forecast scenario and then creating the subphases as low, base, and high, which is the same concept. So we will keep working like this and create now the pessimistic scenario, and let's just use the same description, and let's use this as a reference, primary and secondary. And now we have our scenarios ready to work with them. So now we will save, and let's go now just to the decline as a decline tool. For that we will go to tools, declines. You can use the shortcut Control D, and here we have the declines open. Here by default, when we open this window, we will be in the mode forecast. Here you can change to the type well mode. In this case, we will only work with forecast. You have this template by default, and you will have selected the wells that you had before. In this case, I had this selected from the previous exercise. You will have them selected as well for the decline window. In this case, we will work with a single well because we want to do just a simple example. And let's go to D12. So we will look for it here, D12, and select this single well. And now we have this curve associated to this well. So here I will modify this color of the background. Here you can open this option here to modify the graphic configurations of the of your decline window. I will modify this to white and the text to black. So we have more common colors here to work with them. These configurations will be saved between in the project and will be specific to this decline window if you modify them here. Here now let's do our first regression. But first, before that, let's check if everything is okay. Here we have monthly productions, the phase that we are declining is oil, the scenario where the information is coming from is history. You can modify this if you have other scenarios where you have your information stored. You can modify it here. The subphase is total. You can also, if you have, for example, production saving primary or secondary, you can also select it here. The level is object, but we could use the layer production if we have it loaded as well. This is not the case, so we are just going to work with the object level. And here you can define if you want to use calendar day or effective time for your decline. In this case, we don't have effective time loaded for this well, so we will just work with calendar day. So now we will adjust a curve. Here we can see that in these three options here we have the general options, the ones associated to the variable that we are declining. We can see, for example, if we want to show notes or associated to the well, as we did before in another exercise. Here we can use the user notes. If we have them available, we can check it them here. Also show the tests if we want of the nodes. Here we have the options associated to the decline. We have several options we can work with here. The economic limits, or the if you want to use a maximum decline or a maximum B if we are using hyperbolic. Here the options of regression, the format of the line if you want to use other colors here. Here that's not the case, so we will keep working with blue here. Here we can decide which are the parameters that will be used for the decline. In this case, we are using an hyperbolic curve for this first decline, but you can modify it with different options here. And here the options for the forecast, where the forecast is going to be connected, which value is going to be considered for the y-axis, and here the different flow rates that you can define as well for the forecast. So for now, let's just do a simple regression here using hyperbolic. So you can move the date that where the regression is going to be considered. As you can see here, we have by default an exponential regression. We are in a logarithmic scale, so we are seeing an exponential because it's a straight line. Also, the b is equal to 0, so we are in an exponential regression. But if Sahara sees that it can fit a better curve using hyperbolic, it will try to define the best b available for that case. So we are going to see the tendency here, and we can see here now that we are switching to hyperbolic based on the regression data, and we have a pretty good fit here for that regression. Here we can modify a little bit, but more or less it should be around here your regression. So now we have this scenario that is a little bit more optimistic in the sense that we are using hyperbolic, but let's save it as the base. So now to save this regression, we are going to click on this button here. So now when we save this, we have a number of options here. We have to select the results scenario. Then in this case is going to be the forecast, because this is neither optimistic nor pessimistic. The subphase is going to be total. This is going to be saved at the object level because the information that was used for the regression was at the object level as well. Here we have to select the analysis case. This is going to be a file where we can later load if you want to check on the regression information that we use for later use. So in this case we are going to save it with the default name because it's the forecast of the oil rate versus time of the D12 well. So the name is correct here. It has all the information that we need to later check on this regression. And here we can define if we want to save the forecast or not. In this case, here you can see that you can select if you want to save the analysis case or the forecast. In this case, I'm going to save both. I'm saving the forecast as monthly production, but if you want, you can save it as daily production as well. And here you have an option by well, which can be used if you select a group of wells. We will do it later in another exercise. And you can also define if you want to include the previous rate to the regression phase. So what is going to happen here, sorry, to the forecast phase. So what is going to be saved here is if I select this, if I select it, all the information before the forecast is going to mimic the the exact data that we have in the history scenario. So it's not going to save your regression. It's just going to save the information of the production data as it is, with these spikes and like that. This is going to be exactly the same as the history data. If I don't click here, nothing is going to be saved before the forecast, and only the red curve is going to be saved starting by that date. So we are not going to have any previous information. So in this case, I'm going to save it, and I will save it here. So now our forecast has been saved. Let's do some other regressions, more pessimistic ones. Let's, for example, for the pessimistic one, let's try to do something like this. So we will have a little bit worse curve here, less recovery, with an MP that is with a B that is closer to exponential. So let's save this one as well in the pessimistic scenario, and let's save everything the same, all the productions, and we will save it like this. And now let's do one that is more optimistic, something like this. Yes, so now we will save it as optimistic, and now save. And now we have the three forecasts saved, and we will plot them accordingly. Let's just go here, and first let's plot the if we plot the production data, we will check on the history. Let's go here, edit curve selection, monthly production history, oil, object, total, calendar day. So now we have the production history of the well, that, as you can see, it will finish on December 2021. But after that, we can select monthly production and use our scenarios that we define as the three forecasts that we have. So for forecast, we are going to have the base option here, oil, object, calendar day, and here we can see our forecast. Now, as I say the previous production, if I change this color here, all the curve is going to be modified because I saved all the previous information. I'm going to save this as dark green, and I'm going to use a dash line to represent that it's a forecast. Here we will increase the thickness of this one to check that the history goes up to this date, and now we will add the other two, monthly productions, optimistic, oil, object, total, calendar day, and pessimistic oil. Optimistic was already selected, pessimistic, oil, object, total, calendar day, and now we have the two other options. Here I will plot them. I will plot this one as red, also with a dash line to represent. No, maybe it's better to plot this as blue because it's optimistic, and I'm going to plot it like this, and now a red line that is going to represent the pessimistic scenario, like this. I'm going to increase the thickness a little bit more of the history, so we can see that the history will go up to this point, and then we have the three different forecasts available that will have different recoveries based on the optimistic, pessimistic, and base option. Here we will prepare another graph that is going to represent the same, but we can also check on the cumulative values. So we will add another graph as a row here. I prefer it on the other way, right? This we will do the same treatment. Here we change the names, production forecast for the one on top, and cumulative forecast for the one at the bottom. So now we have the two of them together, and we can check here the different curves. We will add colors to modify them. So we were using here thickness 4 to represent history, and I will add thickness 2 and dash to the other ones, and the colors that we selected previously, dark green here. So we will use for the optimistic blue, dash, and thickness 2, and for the pessimistic red, dash, thickness 2 as well. So now we have them here maybe it will be easier to check them if I use a linear scale instead of logarithmic. And now we can see the three different forecasts and the possible evolution of the well production over time with different premises. More or less, in this case, we define more or less hyperbolic in the sense of using a b greater than 1, close to 1, and closer to 0, closer to exponential 0 0.3. So we now save that in the forecast scenario, and we can add this, access this production as with any other production data in this scenario. So that will be everything for this tutorial. Something that is useful as well is that you can access, before we leave, you can access this with reports and see the different, for the different dates, the production and the forecast. You can see that up to the present all of them are going to be the same because all of them have the same information saved, but after this point all of them will diverge from this production here, and we will have different results from here onwards. So that's something useful to see. You can do it if you click here. You're going to have the same information for cumulative values, and you will see the same, that up to the present we are going to have the same values, and then we'll have divergence point here, and we will see that after a while the three of them are going to have different results. So that's something useful to check. But well, that will be everything for this tutorial, and in the next tutorials we will keep working more in detail with the decline window. So thank you for watching and have a great day.